Good morning. I apologise that this is now the second attempt at recording this assembly. You will need to refer to the slide deck, which I've also put, because obviously you won't see the slides changing behind me, but I've got them on my computer just simply so that I can refer to them. Okay, so this assembly is being recorded primarily for your use, but please feel free to share it with your parents, because obviously they are interested in the student finance aspects. So share the video and the PowerPoint with them, but I can remind you that primarily it's only for use by maiden early school students. A couple of bits and pieces I'd like to sort of add before we actually get into the real UCAS matter, and that is I'm a qualified first aider, and first aid is quite important to me. And one of the things that I think you need to think about is what would happen if you found yourself in an emergency. And what I would encourage you to do is to put on your phone one of the two apps from either St John's Ambulance or the British Red Cross. These are apps that will actually talk you through emergency situations should you find yourself in a problem. You're going to be the ones who, you're out in an evening and a friend falls off, accidentally stumbles off the curb, injures themselves, hurts themselves. What would you actually do apart from panic? And actually these apps will talk you through how to handle that emergency situation which you find yourself in. So either the one from John's Ambulance or from British Red Cross. The other app you really ought to have on your phone is something called Save a Life. The Save a Life app logs into your location services on your phone, and it actually tells you where the nearest defibrillator is. Also, if you go to where the defibrillator is and you go onto the app, it will actually contact the emergency services for you, pass on the code of the defibrillator that you're at, and will actually all the automated unlocking and all those bits and pieces happen. So I would encourage you to get the Save a Life app. The other one is What 3 Words. Everybody really ought to have What 3 Words on their phone, so that if you are in an emergency situation, you're not really trying to say, well, I'm halfway down this road, or I'm not quite sure which road I'm on, or we got in the car and I wasn't really following where we went. So What 3 Words will actually contact the emergency services if you allow it to do so. So go in, install the app, sort all the bits and pieces out as far as that is concerned, and then allow What 3 Words to handle emergency situations for you. The other one is you need to make sure you have set up the safety and emergency settings on your phone. Certainly on my phone, if I press the power button 5 times, I've now set mine up to dial 999. It links into my location services and will actually inform the emergency services via What 3 Words as exactly where I am and the fact that I have set up this medical situation. Can I also say that it allows you to automatically dial maybe a member of the family or something like that. It also means that if somebody comes across you because you have collapsed, they can actually press the power button 5 times on your phone, and it allows them to have the medical ID and contact phone number available to them in the circumstances. So that's something that's really worth considering and actually doing. So let's look at Google Classroom, UCAS 2024. So here we go. All the documentations, the PowerPoint and the recording will be linked off Google Classroom later on. So here we go into UCAS 2024, What's Now and Student Finance. This is the last of these assemblies for you to actually think about and bits and pieces. So let's plough on through. First things first, and that is, are there any conditions to your offer which you have to meet by a certain date? Okay, some of you might have to upload your GCSE certificates. I don't know why. We've checked your GCSE results, but some universities this year are asking for GCSE results again. It may be you need to do a DBS check, you need to supply some information for that. It might be that you need to take a photograph of your passport. If that's the case, then sometimes it needs to be verified, and we can actually do that for you at school. And there might be health forms that you need to fill in depending upon what you're doing. So make sure you fill those in. Please complete them well before the closing date of the offer. They may have dates which are earlier than actually the May date by which you have to reply. Some of them, however, may actually say you actually have to accept the offer first. and we'll need to do that, and then there will be something you need to do within 48 hours, or maybe some cases 14 days of accepting the offer and turning something into your firm place. Can I say, for those who might be watching this, you can still apply via the ordinary route. If you haven't made an application yet, you can still apply, and that will be there for you. We will support you in that, but please let myself and your tutor know that you've actually put in an application after what we call the deadline. So let's have a look at some dates. You will have put your application in by the 31st of January, which is the equal consideration date. Okay, and therefore universities have until the 16th of May to make offers. Many of you have all the offers, and I'll go through the stats in a minute. But one of the things that you need to make sure you do is that you respond according to the deadline. The 6th of June, once they've made their offers by the 16th of May, you have until the 6th of June to actually consider all of those offers and actually reply to them. If you don't reply by the 6th of June, you will lose those offers and the universities will cancel them. Just to say, on the 4th of July, extra closes, some more details about that in a minute. And the 5th of July is when clearing opens. So if you haven't got any places, haven't got a place by the 5th of July, you can actually go into clearing, and the whole system is explained on the UCAS website, and I'm not going to explain it here. On the 15th of August is confirmation or results day. I will be in from 7:30 in the morning. You will know by 8 o'clock or at 8 o'clock whether or not you're in to a particular university, and we will be here to support you. And the 25th of September is the last day by which you can actually apply for the 2024 cycle. Okay, so you've got your offers, you can see them in track. Can I remind you that if you've got an interview, that may still appear in track. If they want some additional information, that may still appear in track. So the idea is that you will take one firm offer, that's the university you really want to attend, with a particular set of grades, and then normally you will pick an insurance offer whose grades are, the offer is lower than that for your firm. But don't forget, if you don't get into your firm place, your insurance place is the place you will actually have to go. But can I note that you do not have to actually have an insurance place. You can say, right, okay, if I don't get into my firm, I will have a look in clearing when clearing opens at 1 o'clock on confirmation day. Can we look at some stats with regards to the UCAS applications? We've got 196 applications have been made this year. 70 of you already have signed up and made your firm choices. 126 of you have still to decide where you're actually going to go for university at this point in time. So I would exhort you to actually get on with actually making those full decisions. 144 of you have received all your offers, so there's no reason why you can't very quickly, the 144 join the 70 who've already made their minds up, and I know 52 of you are still waiting on a university to make a response. Don't forget that you don't have to wait for all 5 replies before the university, or before you make a decision on that. Can I remind you that if your extra opened on the 23rd of February, that means if you've used all 5 choices on your application and you unfortunately haven't got any offers, in other words, you're not holding any offers, you could still find a place one at a time by using extra. If you really want full details on that, have a look on the UCAS website. So we've got to accept and decline our offers, sort out accommodation. Most universities' accommodation is either opened or a waiting list for an email to say when it opens. And today we're going to have a look at student finance. So, Student Finance 2024. It is not the same as 2023. Can I just say that straight up? The significant things have changed since last year. But can I also say I am not a finance expert. Okay, I more or less know what goes on with straightforward cases, but can I say there's a huge document with various bits and pieces. Can I suggest if you are not as straightforward and do not meet the normal criterion, whatever that happens to be, that you very carefully read the documentation. And can I say you can start your finance application before your final course is confirmed. You just need to put down one of the universities you've applied for, and then you can change that later on even after confirmation date, you can change which university. You just log in, and it's very quick to do a simple change, knowing that your student finance is in place. So, can I suggest that you read the online guide? You have a look at the terms and conditions, which is very important for you actually to read that. I know normally when you get something, I say piece of software, and the terms and conditions, you just scroll through the pages, click accept. This is one of those occasions when you do need to read the terms and conditions, because it's very important. You are signing up to a financial agreement, and then get on with the application. So, do you qualify? And can I say the rules have changed from last year? So, you can apply for full support if all of the following on this slide actually apply. Okay, you're a UK national or Irish citizen or have settled status. In other words, there are no restrictions on how long you can actually stay. If you have indefinite leave to remain under your parent's passport, then you need to have a look at that, because some indefinite leaves to remain have some terms and conditions on them. But it's all explained in the documentation. So number 2 is that you normally live in England. And number 3, you've been living in the UK, the Channel Islands or the Isle of Man for 3 years in a row before the first day of the academic year of your course. So in other words, it's 3 years prior to the 1st of September 2024. And of course it says apart from temporary absences such as holidays. Can I say that used to be 5 years? Last year that was 5 years. 2 years ago it was 3 years. They have revised it down now to 3 years. So that's important for you to understand that. And also check the government, the documents or the website. So in other words, if you've got a UK passport, lived in the UK for 3 years, normally live in the UK, then you should be fairly straightforward for your application. So there are 2 things you apply for. Number 1 is a tuition fee loan, and secondly is a grant and or maintenance loan. Most of you, because of your family income, will be applying for a maintenance loan and a tuition fee loan. So the tuition fee loan, the slide says it's up to £9,250. I say up to because it's actually means tested in exactly the same way as your maintenance loan is means tested. So the tuition fee is has eligibility. Whether you can get student finance depends upon personal circumstances, as we've already mentioned, the course you're applying to, and the university or college. So let's have a look. Okay, personal circumstances, we've already talked about this, your nationality or your residency status, and non-UK passport holders for the tuition fees, you need to check the rules carefully. If necessary, contact the university concerned, because some universities have different rules to others as far as this is concerned. The tuition fee loan, it has to be the university in the course, so it has to be your first degree. It's a foundation degree if you've got a foundation year on your degree. Or if it's a certificate of higher education, an HNC, Higher National Certificate or Higher National Diploma, HND. All of those you can apply for student loans for if that is what you want to do. So that's the fees loan. Let's now have a look at the maintenance loan. This is money for you to live on. Because you're living away from home, majority of you. So how much you get depends upon when you start your course, where you live and the household income. So if you are living at home, you can have up to £8,610. If you are living outside London, you can get £10,227. And if you're in London, you get more, because London is considered to be more expensive. So it'd be £13,348. So let's have a look at the table. Here is the table for the maintenance loan based on household income and the various criterion: outside London, in London and living at home. Can I say that if the household income is up to 45,000 or above, if it's above 45,000 rather, you will still get £7,304 if you're living outside London. The inside London is 10,337 and living at home £5,716. There is no minimum, if you like, that you can get. Well, that is the minimum that you actually get if your household income is above £45,000. So that may seem a lot of money, but let's have a look at some calculations. So I've actually taken, as in the example here, for Southampton, Imperial, Reading and UEA, University of East Anglia, I've looked at the cost for halls for the lowest and the highest. Note that Imperial, the 127 per week, is actually a twin bedded room. You have sort of an area each, but you're actually commonly sharing a room right the way up to the top expensive ensuite accommodation. So let's use Imperial as an example. What I've done is I've picked a middle range hall, somewhere that's not quite as far out, but also not closely in. Comes up with a fee of £258 per week, which gives you an annual cost of £9,804. Your loan might be £13,348, or the lowest it'll be is £10,337, which therefore gives you, when you take off your hall fees from your loan, you actually gets you to live on either £3,544, which gives you £93 per week, or if you get the lower amount, it gives you £14.03 per week. Just try working that in Asda if you've only got that amount of money. And of course, don't forget that if you're in London, travel has to come out of that money as well. So you may need your parents to do a top-up, but more about that in a minute. If we actually look at Southampton as an example, where I've actually looked at hall fees. An average hall for Southampton University is £205 per week, gives you £7,790 per annum overall. Okay, getting a loan, and you've got the two loan values there, that either gives you £64.13 per week to live on, or actually, if you happen to be on the lower amount, it's minus £12.70 per week. In other words, your parents will certainly have to make up some money even towards your hall fees at this point in time. But can I say, if you went to Southampton, you don't have any travel to pay in the first year because you have free bus pass. Okay, paying it back. How do you actually pay it back? Well, both loans are charged of interest at a rate currently of 6.3% whilst you are studying, and once you've left, the interest rate is dependent upon your income. That's rather complicated. I'm not going to go into that today. You can read it if you want to. Can I say you are only charged interest on the amount that they've actually loaned you at any point in time, so therefore each term you've been loaned more, and therefore the interest goes up. Have a look at the details. But the repayment starts when your income is greater than $25,000 currently, and the payback is set at 9% of your income above the threshold, and we'll look at those thresholds. As I said, the threshold is currently set at £25,000. Therefore, if you actually, for example, had a salary of £27,295, okay, you won't actually pay anything. But actually, if your income then becomes £28,000 per annum, you're going to pay £22 per month. My son currently pays about £7 a month because of his income. So therefore, you're not actually paying a great deal. He's on a slightly different payment plan. So, how to apply? Well, you go to .gov UK and / student finance. Can I say that your tuition fees are paid directly to the university, and your maintenance loan is paid to you once you have actually registered. How to apply? Here are some top tips. Number one, do it on a PC. Have a printer connected and ready during the process, because you will need to print off certain bits, certain documents. Have your bank account and details and national insurance to hand. Have your access to your parents' national insurance numbers and their income for the year 2023. Have your passport with you, and I've put the national insurance number again. Best to apply when your parents are at home, so if there are any questions come up, you can actually deal with those. Your parents do not need to have an email address each, but obviously you need one for the household, because there will be bits and pieces that they will need to confirm. And if they're sat at home with you and they can access their email, something will come through to them for them to confirm, and it speeds up the whole process. And can I say, actually doing this can take you over 30 minutes. So you need to allow a decent chunk of time, and some of it you can't save but have to go back in and do. So again, if you don't complete it all in one sitting. Can I also give you some tips? There are other funding sources available. there are sources of funding for students in hardship, available for disabled students if you are registered as disabled, not just have a disability. If you are a care leaver, in other words, you've been living in care or in some form of not with your parents, you can apply for some additional sources of funding, and also those who are independent students who have no contact with their family. But from your course provider, you can also apply for bursaries for many of the medical courses. There is scholarships available, and there are charitable and educational grants and bursaries. For example, because as some of you will know, my wife was very ill back in 2012 and she's not now working, my son was able to apply for some additional money from the student union, which was very helpful. I think it was £2,000 for his each year, and also he was able to apply for an educational grant based on where we live, and that came to an additional £500 a year. So you can see that made quite a difference for him, being able to apply for that additional money. Okay. How to apply? Well, the deadline is the 31st of May this year for new students who wish to be guaranteed finance for September. Can I note that it can take over 6 weeks to process your application? You do need the money in place for September, otherwise you will have to find the funds, and then when your student finance comes through, you can actually pay that back to whoever's lent it to you. But you're better off to actually get it all sorted in the first place. Bit like saying, I know when you apply for a passport, they say allow, was it 6 weeks? I know when I renewed my passport recently, it came back in 3 days. So, you know, it can come through very quickly at the moment if your case and if your finances are fairly straightforward, and particularly if your parents are on PAYE, because that makes it even more straightforward. Can I also say you don't need a confirmed place at university to apply for funding. Put down the university that you think will probably be your firm choice, and you will either need to confirm that in September or change it. No, it's in end of August, or can I say change it at the end of August, because you'll be sent an email to confirm which university you are planning to go to. Can I say the other thing that's important on the first day at university, it's important that you go to the course office and you actually sign on the dotted line to say you're there, because your student finance will not come through until such time as you're actually there and signed up that you're attending the course. Halls of residence will have already sent you an invoice for funding, and therefore, but they understand that you don't get the money through probably for 3 or 4 days after you've arrived, and therefore, you know, you can pay them as and when. So that's it on student finance. But finally, last slide, Dr. Tim's top tips. As you know, my son went through university. He's now a doctor at University College Hospital London. He's also involved with first year students, teaching them medicine. And I asked him just to remind, he did originally say an air fryer was to replace the slow cooker. Well, he's actually revised that last night. He said everybody's got air fryers. He said you'll get them all mixed up. He still thinks you're better off with a slow cooker. He still avidly uses his slow cooker. But let's just run through them. A door wedge. All of the doors on halls of residence are auto closing. And it's good to have something to actually prop it open with, so that as students walk past, new students walk past, you can actually say hello, you can see them, they can see you, and you get to know people fairly quickly. And by the way, when you leave your room, don't leave your door wedge visible, because the cleaners will take it away, because you're not supposed to have them. You know, stick it in a drawer, but it's a really useful thing to have. For cooking, as I said, slow cooker. It allows you to put loads of stuff in it, go off for the day, and when you come back, your dinner is cooked and you're not messing around to cook. Can I say cooking a meal from scratch will take you about an hour and a half. Get yourself a cheap black and white printer. Often you say, oh, but yes, but there's printing at the university. Printing at the university is often in the library or somewhere like that. Very rarely is it in halls anymore. And therefore you might want to quickly print off some worksheets. You might want to print off a PowerPoint from a lecture, which you're going to annotate, this sort of thing. So a cheap black and white printer, almost vital these days. My son also took his Xbox to university. He had a small TV with him as well. He found that really useful for having a second screen connected to his computer. But also he had his Xbox, and he would have people round to play on the Xbox. And it was a real social bits and pieces. Also, he would say, get a throw to put on your beds, which you can take off when you're actually sleeping in it. And also find somebody who can make you some cake. Homemade cake is a great introduction to other people, so that hopefully you can get to know some people. What he would also say to you is you need to, I know Facebook is old hat, but there are still lots of Facebook groups, hall groups, course groups, sport groups, all tend to do their chat and their arranging on Facebook. Get on Twitter for various bits and pieces, particularly a Twitter account based on your course, and have a look on YouTube, because there's lots of information put up by student unions and courses about bits and pieces you need to know before you go to university. And also some of the lecturers put some of their lectures up there, so you can see them before you arrive. So, final one from us. If you're not placed for 2024, we will continue to support student applications for 2025, and for 2 more years after you have left. We will support you for that period in time. So feel free to come back to us on that. And there we go. So to summarise, make sure you accept or decline any appropriate offers, sort out your accommodation, and now get started on your student finance. Get that arranged as soon as possible. Can I say help is available as always, and you can always email me and I will do my best to help you. So there we go. That's it for the assembly. That's the end of the assembly for this year. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I hope you find this helpful.